Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great, fabulous day. 7 great habits that will change your life, your manifesting, and everything in between. 7 habits that if we get in the habit of doing, hence the habits, you will be amazed at the things you will start to notice, changes that will start to happen almost overnight. And I'm not making promises or anything like that, and I'm not trying to sell snake oil. I got nothing to sell for that matter. Practices I use, they couple, I think, with a lot of things. I think be good to others and all sorts of things, right? There's a lot of good things that come into playing out with how the world interacts back with us. But there's been a lot of people that have kind of looked into this and certainly found some causation that gets around these habits. So, one of the best things you can do, number 1, start the day with positivity. Something about the day to look forward to. Something that you enjoy about the morning. Something, a positive source of something, a breakfast you enjoy, maybe a workout, a walk, something that you enjoy. Figure out a way to start the day in a positive manner, in a positive fashion. One of the things I like to do as a great habit or something that's fun is what things are going to happen today that are going to be interesting, like that tie to things I'm working on that are connecting me to my next step in something. Like what's going to happen today that is noteworthy, right? I mean, that's just a kind of an exciting way to, something's going to happen today. Many things are probably going to happen today. What are they? I'm kind of excited. There's a lot of things that are going on. I got a lot of irons in the fire. Curious to see, what does things look like today? Are they improving? Are they going in the right direction? Am I getting indications that are pointing me, yes, you are, in fact, heading where you would like to? Or am I getting some sort of weird things that I'm like, am I doing something weird because I'm starting to know a pattern here rather than contrast? Sometimes we get contrast. Is it something that's repeating? That's probably a pattern now. Once in a while, that's contrast. Continuous, that's something you're doing. Probably a good way to look at it. Number 2, balance the scale. So one thing I think a lot of people try to do is they have a moment of negativity. They have a moment where something negative happens, a negative thought, and negative action, a negative contrast moment, and you're like, oh no! And we panic. We're like, no, we're not supposed to do that. We're never supposed to have negative experiences. Negative's bad. I've read everywhere that negative's bad. It's okay. It is okay. Everybody has those moments. I think Louise Hayes, whatever, she talked about how, I think she was 78% by the time she got really close to being no longer with us. So again, it's one of those things where you get better over time for sure, and you should. And if you're not there, then maybe you need to focus on learning from past mistakes. But balance it. It's okay. Negativity will happen from time to time. It's what we choose to do with it. Again, if it's a one-time thing, it's a contrast. If it's a repeating pattern, pay attention to that negativity then at that point, because there's probably something going on with you that's causing this. Now, again, a lot of people hate it. Self-love's kind of the first place we like to look, because generally if something negative's happening to you, it's usually something that you deserve better. And that's what a lot of people mean by self-love is, what are you tolerating as okay behavior? Is it okay for someone to treat you such a way? Is it okay for people to talk to you such a way? Is it okay to be disrespected like that? Like, there are times where we would look at it and say, hey, maybe you're allowing people to walk on you, and that's not cool. Like, that's what self-love, in a lot of cases anyway, means to me is, I deserve better than this. And a lot of the times we pick ourselves up out of the muck, right? And we realize, man, and we change our lives at that point. The second we realize we deserve more, a lot of times that whole process begins to unfold. And it's very powerful how that works. So balancing that scale. Positivity is stronger. So if something negative happens, no big thing. Just stay on the positive side more than the negative side, or even equal to, and you're going to be fine. They say it's more positive, whatever. Whether they're equal or not, just get back on the positive thing. It was a contrast moment. No big deal. No big deal. It's okay. If it keeps happening again, start to look inward. It's just a reflection for you to notice something that needs to change. So no matter what, negativity is not necessarily a bad thing in any way. It's what we do with it that can be a bad thing. If we run from it, you're asking for more of it. If I quickly try to throw up my shields and throw affirmation, yeah, but you're just blocking Wonder Woman style, instead of actually fixing the problem that keeps causing the calamity, the negativity, the chatter. A lot of times there's something inside that we're not acknowledging. I just did a thing on what ifs, which, by the way, is one of these techniques. That's where that video came from, was this research. And I found this and I'm like, oh, these are really awesome. And this is perfect. I want to share this with my people. And at the same time, that one was beautiful. The what if concept. We'll get to it here in a second. But that being said, Give your, do a negative, a positive, all that good stuff. Okay, third, give yourself the present moment. A lot of us forget that we are constantly like spinning in our heads, constantly doing, and it's that stopping for a second, not worrying about it, giving ourselves a break, focusing on something else for a moment, going for a walk maybe, and just appreciating the outside. Like, enjoy the present moment. So many of us get so hung up on doing techniques, that we forget to actually enjoy the day. Because again, your signs and symbols and indications and all that stuff are going to happen in the present moment. That's one of the many wonderful things about the present moment. When we're imagining the future, because we're living from the future and all that stuff, it's you're still trying to be in the now. You're imagining this, as if concept, right? You're imagining as if like it is happening right now. But I mean, of course, your brain realizes they're not yet, but it's that concept. You're still focusing on the thing you're trying to get to, but you're appreciating where you're at currently in the day. So it gives yourself a chance to take a vacation. Sometimes you just need to find happy moments in places where you can just enjoy yourself or be there or have a moment for you, or maybe play 15 minutes of Candy Crush or something crazy, right? Like whatever it is that kind of helps take your mind off it for just a few. Give yourself a break. All right, number 4. Magical question. This one I loved, by the way. This would almost warranted a whole show unto itself. And really, this one will change your life like immediately. And this, I think, also kind of ties into the first one. Starting the day with positivity will make a huge difference. But what was the best thing that happened today? When you go to bed at night, think about that. Ask that question to yourself. What was the best thing that happened today? And what it does is it gets you to kind of think inward about the day and what was good about it. Again, what are we focusing on? So things that were good, that went well, that we'd like to see more of. Well, let's think about them. Let's appreciate. Let's be thankful, even in advance, of course, always. Very gratitude in advance. But even gratitude after the effect is still groovy. Technically, time doesn't really exist like we think of it, so they say. I don't know, right? But that's what they say, the smart people. Who knows? So again, magical question. Best thing that happened today. If you go to bed thinking about that, you're probably going to get more of that. And then you can be like, yeah, that was the best thing that happened. And then if you want to fall asleep thinking about your significant person, or that dream car that you've been looking to buy, or that new home that you've been creating in your mind, maybe walk into one of the other bedrooms today in your mind and see what that room looks like. Right? Maybe you just explore a little further, or maybe you try, I don't know, maybe you got your car dialed in. Maybe you want to check the interior, do a different color, something to think about. Maybe you want to figure out what kind of the leather, seeing the hand stitching on the seats and how cool that looks, or whatever works for you. Number 5, this is kind of a fun one, slower brainwaves. So there are apparently 5 kinds of brainwaves. The faster ones are the gamma and beta. Ooh, I bet you wanted to know all that. But the slower ones are alpha, theta, and delta. You've probably heard of that dream state and a lot of these different things. Some other things can cause us to get into those states that I certainly can't talk about on the channel. But meditation is probably one of the safe approaches to talk about. And it helps get us into that lower brain state, those slower brain states. And what that does, how that benefits us, is it actually allows us an easier time connecting with our subconscious mind. It starts to bridge the conscious and subconscious a wee bit, because apparently a lot of that stuff's happening on those slower brain waves, and the faster ones are just, just shooting right past it, right? But the slower ones are like, no, hang on, man, this feels groovy, right? So getting yourself to kind of be able to slow down enough to appreciate those slower brain waves. I'm sure I'm bastardizing it in some way, though it's not how it works, right? The slower ones don't necessarily mean you're mellow at the moment, but anytime I would assume that you're very focused, you start to use some of those brain waves instead. So they say even if you're folding laundry, for example, if you're focused on doing it, you're actually in a form of meditation. So you would probably, if tested while folding laundry, would probably show that a lot of those slower brain waves are happening. So meditation happens in a lot of different ways. A lot of us get hung up on it. It's got to happen. You've got to and you got to be like Indian style in some weird way. I don't know why we call it that phrase. I apologize. I don't even know if that's obviously not okay to say anymore. I don't even know what the right phrase. When you sit cross-legged, there you go. Let's say it that way. That's much smarter and better. Anyway, yeah, that being said, helps kind of get us into the proper mind state where you can help bridge conscious, subconscious, and all that good stuff. Number 6, positive what-if statements. This was the one I just did the show on 2 days ago, and it was yesterday to me right now, because obviously I'm wearing the same thing as the video you saw yesterday, right? It was like, what? Yeah, I did them both the same day. Yeah, and sometimes things happen, and I've got to somehow make things happen on the channel. So positive what if statements are when we're having doubts, when we're going through moments where questions arise. I had someone even ask, well, yeah, I get it with the what ifs, but what if it's really like prevalent? You know, like what if I'm having one of those days where I'm having a lot of really bad negativity? What do I do then? And it's like, well, you kind of just used your own magic against yourself. You just said, well, what if it's a really bad day? And what if it's like, well, all right, what if it's not? I mean, that was always my favorite thing when people would say, well, what if you're wrong? And it's like, what if I'm right? Sometimes you just got to take a chance and risk being wrong. Oh, well, it's not the worst thing that can happen. But I'll tell you what, a lot of really cool stuff happens when you take risks, or at least make decisions and go, all right, to the best of my knowledge, this is the right decision. We'll see. Roll the dice. Hopefully oh, cool. Worked out. Nice. Sometimes you get a little dusty. Got to pick yourself back up. It's the way it works out. Positive what if statements. What if yourself into a place where whatever problems that are keeping you from your goal are resolved, whatever it is. You know, whatever you're complaining. I'm not strong enough, not smart enough, not fast enough, not whatever. What if I was? What if I can? What if I could speed up? What if I could find a way to be more efficient? Whatever it is, there's a what if that can get you to that place. Again, I just did a show on it 2 days ago if you really want to get into the concept itself. But that being said, what ifs are a very powerful way to deal with doubts. And I think if you've got that in your daily habits, in your daily bag of tricks, you will find great success. And it will help keep your overall mood in a much better place. Then you just spend time being upset at, bad drivers or fun stuff like that. Normal things. Last but not least, learn how to breathe. A lot of us don't do this right, at least when meditating, for sure. Now, I learned what's called the sacred breath, and I'm not going to say this is the right breath, but this is certainly one, and from a lot of the stuff I've read, this is in the same genre, if you will. But the sacred breath was a breath where you took it in the nose, you paused for a period of time, second, two, whatever's comfortable. You want this to be a comfortable. You're not trying to break records. You're not trying to change your ability to hold your breath for long periods of time. Nothing crazy like that at all. It's an issue of breathing. So breathe in. You just want to separate the two in breaths and out breaths. That's why second, half a second. It's like a golf swing for those of you that golf, and probably a few of you do. But at the top, you stop for a second, and then you begin your swing. Because if you just and don't stop, it creates kind of a weird momentum, and you generally jack stuff up. So same concept goes with breathing. Stop the in-breath for a moment, then exhale. So again, in the nose, equal breath in, meaning if it takes you about 7 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds to in-breath to where you're fully you're fully full, fully capacitated. I don't know. We'll try that. Then pause for a moment and use the same amount of time to out-breath. Equal. A lot of times when things are going weird in our life and we're breathing funny or we get nervous, we're like, we'll breathe in like really quick if we get nervous, right? Or sometimes we sigh, which is a very overly long, pronounced out breath. And they generally represent sort of imbalances, believe it or not, in emotions. A lot of times when it's happening, there's something going on or something that's causing a, right? Like a long out breath relative to a short in breath usually implies something's not quite right. And to the opposite tends to be true. When our breathing is a little more unified, tends to be a little more unified inside of ourselves. Call it a coincidence, call it whatever. It's kind of how it seems to play out. These 7 habits, if incorporated to your day on a regular basis, just something that kind of is how you focus on the world, see the world, step through your day, start your day off. If you kind of look at doing these things on a regular basis, you will find a lot of things start to improve in ways that you didn't even realize. And things will open up that you will be tripping on it. So this brings to mind, and it's kind of relative, but it's irrelevant, but it's one of those things that as we work on ourselves, as we get to a higher place, like she was noticing that she was getting a lot of attention from guys now, all of a sudden, now that she's done all this internal work. And it's like, yeah, a lot of times once you get your energy to a good place, you start getting noticed by others in a very interesting way. So again, these things will help bring us closer to this reality we're trying to create, whatever it is, whatever your creation is, whatever your manifestation is. For a lot of people, it's love, money, jobs, cars, schools. Somehow I need to find an apple at the grocery store that's not too soft. I don't know. Some people's desires are significantly reduced compared to others. Just saying. hopefully this makes a difference for all of you guys. Love you guys. Talk to you guys soon. And I'm probably going to try to do something live. I know Agnes and I are going to be recording again this weekend. And not 100% sure what we're talking about. I sent her an idea, but I'm kind of behind on life in general right now, trying to do too much in too short a time. But we'll get there one way or another. But again, Anya's show coming up. Probably going to try to do something live this weekend, question and answer, maybe pick some fun topic to talk about and see what happens. Never know. It's always interesting when people show up on those. So again, this Saturday, at least California time, at Los Angeles time, probably somewhere around 8 a.m.-ish. I will probably hop on live, so whatever that is in your time zone, hopefully that kind of helps. You can find a time converter. There's stuff online that I've used before, so maybe that helps for those of you out there that would like to join us, like to ask some sort of question. Well, what about this scenario? Well, I happen to appreciate that. I've had some people ask me some very difficult questions, and I'll give you my best answer, whatever. Sometimes I got a decent one, sometimes meh, sometimes who knows, we'll see. But always worth the good times. Appreciate all of you, love you. Stay on radio style.